When I really started paying attention to the room and recognizing how many other peers did not have all the answers and could still bring their ideas to the table, and we sort them out together and we work on each other's, we use the other strengths in the room. It was this aha moment of I don't actually have to know all of the answers, but what I have to do is show up. I have to be present. I need to contribute.
Welcome to Adapt or Die, real stories behind leaders' biggest pivots. My name is Andreas Pedersen. You're listening to our Power Without Permission miniseries. It's the same 3 acts, breakdown, new raw stories designed to move you from challenge to action. Today, how Marina turned survival instinct into an operating system for executive level influence. Marina, welcome so much to the podcast.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
We drop straight into it. Tell me what is going on in that moment where you're like, okay, I got to change. Something got to be done differently. If I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm truly going to risk it all, risk everything I've learned and not have a certain future. What is that moment? What is going on? Set us the scene.
I wish I had more than one I have more than one to share, but the one I'm going to share is my very first experience with a big M&A deal. And I just remember that moment so clearly. I didn't feel like I belonged. First of all, I was so glad to be invited. And it was your typical movie show atmosphere. We're driving in these big SUVs. Everybody's got their suits and briefcases. We walk into this company that we're taking over, and the executive team sets up shop. This is a shock to everyone. I was working for a very small, unknown company who bought out its biggest competitor, who was a well-known staple name in the industry. And so rumors had been going around. It was a publicly traded company, so we couldn't talk about it. Rumors had been going around that they were going to be buying us. So when we showed up that day, it was going to be pretty shocking for everyone. And I'm in the room with 6 other executives, all male, and I had been invited to join this team for this takeover. And things were not going well. So we joined into the conference room, everyone's shuffling. We had to simultaneously get 2 other plants up and running. We had everybody join the conference room so we could make this announcement to multiple divisions and multiple plants in different locations. And this is pre-COVID, years ago. Zoom wasn't working all that well, and we were having technical difficulties. So everyone's kind of scattered, like, what do we do where we can't go live? I made a couple of calls in the background asking someone back at our headquarters to jump on and do this. And everyone's shuffling. Time is ticking. You can see people on the screen. We couldn't get sound. And I just said, hey, I'm going to jump in here for just a moment. And I was like, get me a couple of phone numbers. I called each of the plants and I said, here's what's going to happen. My name's Marina. Just hold really tight. I'm so excited to meet you. We've got great news to announce. And I just kind of took over. And then when we all started up, I remember my CEO at that time goes, by the way, this is Marina, and this is what she typically does. When everything goes wrong, she will just jump in and take action, and she won't wait for permission. So I remember that moment, and I just laughed, and I went, that is what I do. And
That is what you do.
prior to going in, I just kept going, I don't know if I belong here. This is so new. I'm inexperienced. But what I know about me is when, shit hits the fan, I don't lose my cool. And so I think that's a superpower. And I recognize that in that moment.
So walk me back through the moments before the meeting then. What is going on through your mind in terms of, you said that there is still uncertainty, there is still doubt, is kind of what I could hear. But when it matters, you still step up to the plate. Basically, you take control, you lead with authority. What is it like? What's going on in your mind prior to it?
Prior, and I think this still happens to me today, Andreas, if I'm going to be completely honest, there are just feelings deep inside that say, am I supposed to be here? Can I do this? Are people going to recognize, some flaw in me or recognize that I shouldn't be in the room? Those are real feelings. And I know just going there, having never done this before, I understood the gravity of the situation because lots of lives were going to be changed. There was a lot of market disruption, and who are these people walking in? And for employees specifically, how is this going to change my life? right? And I was just conscious of all of that gravity and all of that weight. And this was my first deal. So it was just somewhat overwhelming, but it was also exciting. If I'm honest, I was like, this is thrilling. This is like the movies. I can't believe I'm here. I wouldn't have pictured it for myself. And it was just, a high range of emotions at these energy levels, right?
Yeah.
Excitement, it was fear, it was anticipation, the unknown, but also just like I am stepping into my future. And it felt like I was stepping into something new.
That is an amazing story. Tell the listeners though, because a lot of listeners might recognize the imposter syndrome, the insecure
Mhm.
overachiever. And I mean, you're a very accomplished woman. I know you. You can do anything you set your mind to. And I've seen you in rooms with very powerful people, men and women, and you can control a room. Like I have no doubt about that in any situation. With that said, for the listeners, some listeners might go, well, I have never done it before, or how do I even build up to it? So, first of all, like tell us a little bit about what are the emotions and how do you recognize them and create awareness around them? And then how do you make sure you don't freeze in the moment, you don't become stagnant, that you actually take action? Because many people don't. Walk us through like how do you force yourself to do that?
So, first of all, thank you for saying all of that. I mean, it's interesting to hear on this side of the screen, right? I don't know that I
I
have.
just want to say, sorry, I'm going to interrupt here. Listeners, listen up what Marina just did. She said, thank you. And that's a person that recognizes how amazing she is. If you can't say thank you, you're pushing away the comment. And sorry for interrupting, Marina, but I think it's so important that people are saying thank you, especially women. Keep going.
Well, and on that note, that was a learned skill, right? I did
Yeah.
not do that. I was very uncomfortable taking compliments. So I'd say nothing or I'd negate them.
Yeah.
And that's a great pivot to walking into a room where you don't know anyone, you don't know where to start, and you're feeling kind of those nerves, right? So those first impressions are so important, and there's a lot of pressure on you. I think you feel that, and the feelings are butterflies in your stomach, nervousness. I'm feeling a little perspiration. I'm wondering how I look. Is my breath okay? Am I wrinkled? All of these thoughts are going through your mind, and for me, you said something that's really key, and I really am a believer in action. And so sometimes I just have to self-talk. And what I have to say is, go, Marina, stop it. I'm literally talking to myself as negative thoughts are going through my head. Stop it. Go out there and just meet one person. Smile and connect with one person. And then so by doing that, I'm almost lowering the bar to say, don't make this insurmountable. Make this one task you can complete, just one, because I really believe in momentum. And sometimes it's just that first step in whatever you do. If I can get through that first step, everything else will roll. It always happens that way. And it's the first step that is the hardest. It's the hardest. There's
This
no
is
getting
gold.
over it except moving forward. So I do tell myself, I say, go, go, go.
I love that you have a self narrative. I love that you clearly articulating this. And for the listeners, Marina, if you met Marina, she is very confident. She can handle a room. She is powerful. All the things we talked about. But I want you to really understand what's actually going on in her head. She's sharing here a raw emotion that is making her stagnant, but she is just telling herself, just go. Why? Because she has seen the pattern of small micro actions and what that leads to in the longer run. And we talk we talk a lot about this actually in the book. And mini promo here, go to leadersadapt.com/book. The book is dropping on the 25th of September. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable about these things, because I think that a lot of people are afraid to admit what they truly feel in those moments, and they're afraid of how they can be judged.
Yeah.
So, how do you deal with that emotion?
So it doesn't go away. The truth is, Andreas, I can still walk into a room and I can still feel intimidated by other people in the room. And I am quite confident. One of the things I think that I have going for me and what other people have said is I have a voice that just automatically sounds a little bit authoritative. So even when I'm insecure, it doesn't sound like it. And I can walk into a room insecure. I do it all the time. But the truth is, we have to feed ourselves. We have to feed ourselves off camera before you enter the room about all the things that you are capable of doing. Because what plays in our mind is the movie reel of all the things that we can't do, we haven't done, or that we've messed up on. And there's probably 3 times as many things we've done well, and we just don't focus on those. So for me, it's really just preparing before big meetings that, I can do this. I've done it before. And even if I haven't, this is going to be the first time. And the first is probably the worst. And it's probably going to be pretty good. Right? So it's really just a model of what have you done before? How did it work out? And it probably turned out better than you imagined. And those are the things you have to remember because those doubts are constantly going to come after you.
So powerful, incredibly powerful. And I really hope that the listeners will take action and really listen to your words here. It's a recurring theme for all the co authors. You're all very accomplished, powerful. I want to use the word, you're really good at what you do, not swearing. Um, but you still have these voices, you still have the doubt, but you still do it anyway. You have recalibrated fear into unfamiliar and a learning opportunity. It's so incredibly powerful. Tell the listeners what will happen if you don't take micro action.
So this is where that cycle of going downhill starts. When you don't take a risk, no matter how small, and a step forward, you're reinforcing to your brain that you can't do it. And the only way to change what your brain thinks or feels is to do the opposite, right? So even if I fail, so long as I take that step forward and try, I've broken a cycle. And when I do it again and again and again, one of these times it's going to work. But it really is the practice of saying, even if I fail, watch me go after it. Watch me. And there becomes this, for me, I always say it's fight or flight, right? I'm not a person who runs, so I'm a person who runs in, and it reinforces that for me every time I do it. And I have done it so many times, Andreas, I do not want to miss the point. I'm scared. I've done it so many times, uncertain and doubtful, but I do it anyway. I have to.
Beautiful. You're so incredibly articulate.
Thank you.
Love it, Marina. Tell the listeners a little bit about how did you get to this point now in your career? Tell us a little bit about sort of your upbringing, your background. Who are you to the listeners outside of work that have sort of mold you into who you are today?
I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, right? So I started like most people in the world, maybe an unstable foundation from the fact that I moved around quite a bit as a child. And so I was never in a place very long. I didn't learn how to connect with people. I was constantly in new environments and not knowing if I was going to fit in. Most of the time I didn't. So I think I grew up with a lot of insecurities about fitting in and about connecting and belonging. And I also, like a lot of women, unfortunately, had a lot of trauma growing up. And so there were just these overarching feelings of insecurity and doubt. I've had them my whole life, and they still creep up, not quite as often anymore. Had a lot of experience putting them down, right? But I grew up feeling unworthy, uncertain, and not knowing where I belong. So I don't have a background that lots of doors were open to me. Lots of invitations were extended. That didn't happen for me. So as I became an adult and entered the workforce, I mean, to me, that was an exciting time in my life to become an adult, to actually contribute, to add value, to constantly learn, meet all kinds of people and learn from them. And those were just really pivotal moments. There are so many people in my life that I've met that have just made a lasting impact in the workplace. And I don't take any of that for granted, right? Pay attention to people. I connected with people. at a work level because I was with like-minded people who wanted to run and grind and work hard and contribute and provide and those types of things. So I think just again, going back to my story about stepping in and doing it, when given a new opportunity, knowing that this is new, willing to absorb it all, take it in, learn, grow, and challenge yourself, every single time becomes a step for the next step up. Every single time.
You can't see the next mountaintop until you climb the current one that is right in front of you.
Yeah. And it's often little steps.
It is little steps. Let's go back to you have this upbringing, and you have also stumbled upon some major transitions. Like you said, you moved around,
Yes.
and you have also seen both a poor upbringing, more poor, and you have seen a more, how do I say, nice,
Upload.
nicer lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah, upbringing. How was that shift, and how has it impacted who you are today?
Well, I can tell you that first shift was very uncomfortable. That was the first time I really recognized I don't belong. It was a new environment, a new world, a new way of thinking when you were around people with money. And so not having had that exposure when I was younger and then coming into it, the story is my father is a doctor, but when we started, he was just a medical student and we were scraping along until he started his own practice. And it felt like it was overnight. It wasn't overnight for him, but as his daughter, I went from school to school, apartment to apartment. I think we moved into a townhouse for the first time. That was a big deal. The next move was this gigantic custom home in a very affluent area. I had just turned 16. My very first car was a BMW. I mean, that is movie star like life. And so to step into this, and I'm thinking, wow, this is the most amazing thing that's ever happened. And I step on campus at high school, and kids are driving up in Porsches and Mercedes, and everybody had a nice car. And I just went, wow. And new homes that I saw, things that I was around was just so different than anything I'd ever experienced before. But what you start to realize at the end of the day, I mean, when we're one-on-one with people and you take a deep breath and you look into somebody's eyes, we really have the opportunity to see how alike we are. And there are things that we can connect with people on that you would never imagine. I can't tell you how many people I've encountered in my life. I think I've mentioned to you too, like I've done mission trips, right? So I've
Mm.
been in third world countries. I've been, in these affluent circles, and I can connect with a human being in a way at a soul level that goes, how are we so similar and yet so different? And I think those are life-changing moments, and they're awarenesses that happen if we keep our eyes open to them. And from a businesswoman standpoint, if you kind of have that mentality walking into any room, there's an opportunity every single time we meet new people to connect in a new way, to learn something new, and to be open to impossible, right? So those huge differences you asked, right?
Yeah, no, you have lived a life in, you have seen a lot of contrast. You're absolutely not judging people based on the first interaction. You are definitely have an eager to get to know every individual, and I think it's part of why you have become so successful as you are. In the chapter, you talk about stop to wait to get a seat and build your own share. Can you elaborate what that means for you?
So for me, I think for a lot of years, I was hoping someone would see me, would recognize me, would invite me in to a circle, right? Or an exclusive group. That's the quote seat at the table. And although I had a lot of exposure to many different business opportunities, I hadn't really been invited. And it wasn't until I joined my current company when my CEO just over lunch said, Marina, what do you want? What do you want? And I had a long list of things, but one of them was, I want a seat at the table. And so I'm not interested any longer in joining a company that isn't interested in having what I bring, my perspective, my skill set as a valuable asset. I'm not interested. Otherwise, I was planning on retiring at that time, and I wasn't planning on entering back, and going quote unquote back to work. So for me, it was just this recognition of I want more, I deserve more, and now I'm comfortable asking for more. And that took a long time to get there.
If you could give yourself advice 20 years before that happened, how would you talk to yourself to make sure that you asked earlier in life?
Gosh, that is such a great question. Andreas, if I could do it all over again, I would tell my younger version that you will never know if you don't ask. And really, even if the answer is no, it's not the end of the world. But if you ask the question 5 times out of 10, more than likely you're going to get one small step forward. And it is the not asking that I think sets so many women back. I see it all the time. I see the differences between how men and women interview, when they get hired, when they ask for promotions, when they ask for more money. And I will tell you, for every 2 women that do it, 10 men were before them. There is this hesitancy to ask. And that, I think, is just a narrative we have to help change.
We have to change it. And the book talks a lot about this. And that's part of the reason why we named it Power Without Permission. Why do you think we have ended there? What is it? How are women conditioned to not ask?
I think just things are changing. But I think that we were grown up with this societal norm of women serve. And so we serve others. We're not being served. We ask how others want things, what they would like. And we've never been told to ask ourselves what it is we would like or how we would want it, etc. That's a nurturing side of us. And I think it's a beautiful side, by the way. So I don't want to lose any of that. But I think we just grew up thinking that it wasn't really polite. It was too forward. It was too aggressive. You're going to offend. Whatever you do, don't offend. So we grew up thinking that asking for things was too aggressive and was offensive. And I think those are lies, but that's something we believe.
How many women do you meet later in their career that still holds on to not asking and not really advocating for themselves? Because my experience is that when I meet people in their 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s, they have a tendency to not ask for a seat at the table or not to build their own chair. But when they reach 40 to 50, there seems to be this just something clicks and like, I I've lived long enough. Like, I'm just gonna do it now. And then they get what they really want. The
Mhm.
problem is, though, that because they didn't ask earlier in the career, they have been trailing behind while a lot of men have been asking for something along the way, like you just said, Marina. And then it's like that gap will really never close. So tell the listeners, like in a very Marina way, why you should make the ask now and not wait until you're a badass later in your career.
Again, you're training yourself. If you want to create habits, true habits that make a difference, you got to start them now and you got to start them in small steps. Asking is just building a muscle. Think of it like working out. Learning to ask for yourself and to advocate yourself for yourself is a muscle that can be learned, and you can train yourself to, I use the term, do it anyway. Do it anyway. Do it scared, do it uncertain, just do it.
I love that. And for any leaders listening, women or men, when you have an employee asking for something, I understand that your first initial reaction is it's my job to save the company money or not to do or and to say no. And you can say no in so many ways. But please remember, you might be making a person not able to ask the question ever again, depending on how you reply. So give a reply where you recognize the ask, you recognize that you have understood it. And there is this model said, heard, understood, accepted, or rejected. make the person feel understood, especially if it's a woman who is asking for something more. And then if you have to say no, you have to say no. But then try to build alternative paths of how to add value to this individual, mentor them, coach them, put them in a leadership program, even if you can't give them a salary or a title promotion right now. But recognize the effort because, dear leaders out there, you're part of the problem unless you also change your behavior.
It's really good. It's a great point. Thank you for saying that.
Two-way street, right?
Yes.
Um, so let's go into where you're at today. What other amazing teaching? I mean, you and I can talk about all your life lessons for a long time. As we were writing this book, though, I want to understand, was there any lesson learned or did you shift any narrative as we were going through the process?
You know, the biggest shift for me, and I feel embarrassed to say it, right? At this age, 'cause like you mentioned, I'm in my 50s, and there's this idea that I should have arrived by now. And so the narrative that I continued to tell myself, Andreas, that was just so wrong, is that I needed to know more. I needed to be more, and I still wasn't enough.
Mhm.
Several things clicked for me. When I really started paying attention to the room and recognizing how many other peers did not have all the answers and could still bring their ideas to the table, and we sort them out together and we work on each other's, we use the other strengths in the room. It was this aha moment of I don't actually have to know all of the answers, but what I have to do is show up. I have to be present. I need to contribute. It's better for everyone when I do, even if my ideas aren't embraced. And so there was this recognition and an aha moment for me to realize that, I actually add value because I'm in the room for no other purpose, that I have a perspective and a thought that might be different than someone else's, that usually is different than someone else's. And that is enough. It's enough to trigger thought and engagement with other people and other people in the room. And that is so important. I mean, having a lot of yes people in the room just gets no one, you know, anywhere really quickly. And so just being present, knowing that you add value simply for being there is enough. And I didn't think that it was. That was a huge shift. It was a huge shift. And I think everything in me and my confidence changed after that. So it didn't matter that my ideas weren't embraced, right? It didn't matter if we didn't do what my thought was. The fact is, I actually now recognize that my thoughts or my disagreements, stimulated something in the room. And that was best for the company. And that was best for everybody around me. And so I started to just really embrace that and look forward to it. And I love contributing now.
And you are brilliant and you are adding value. And I would say the same for all the listeners. You have a unique perspective. And if you're invited to the room, if you're not even claiming it yourself, but even if you're invited, there's a reason for it. Own it. Don't go in and sit in the corner and be quiet. Literally take a seat at the table and know that you're there to bring value and you are bringing value. I don't have the statistics right in front of me right now, but I think it's in, and I will quote it better the next time. But there is something that when women walk into the room, they have to, and this was a study, they have to feel they have 100% of the knowledge, of the facts, everything that is going to play out. And men feel confident after around 20 to 30% of the information. And it's the same when applying for a job. It's the same when asking for a promotion, asking for a salary increase. Women feel they have to have almost all the facts. But the thing is, you can't prepare for all the facts. And that's why it's so, so, so important to do it. Do it scared, like Marina is talking about here, over and over and over again.
Andreas, I'm going to add one thing because I think it's really important, especially from those who are leaders. What I realize now, because I realize that about myself, is if I'm in a room and someone else, in a meeting brings an idea to the table that I wouldn't agree with at all, I always want to acknowledge, I hadn't thought of that. Thank you for bringing your ideas to the table. Because I do think, gosh, if I could have just been encouraged a little bit, maybe I wouldn't have taken so long to arrive, where I'm at now. And just because someone does not agree with me or doesn't think along the same lines, again, they're stimulating thought. So I actually enter most meetings now looking for someone else's opinion because it enhances mine.
Huge. And don't go to the people that gives you comfort. Go to the people that will challenge you or that will actually have a different opinion. It will sharpen you every single time. And it will make you be perceived as much more authoritative in the room as well.
Yeah. I definitely
Gold,
encourage
gold.
that. Definitely encourage that, especially with those who work with me. People know I like to be challenged. If you want the most out of me, you want me to be happy, challenge me because I can't grow otherwise.
Oh, you are so incredibly good. You should be doing my job. Anyway, let's go into rapid fire session. Here I'll give you a short statement, first thing that comes to your mind, and that's the answer we're gonna live with. No change, no redo, it just is, okay?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Is the heart pounding?
I'm ready.
Good. Okay. One belief that you retired.
I think as a business leader today, the one belief that I had to retire was that I'm not good enough,
Absolutely. You are always good enough. You're brilliant as you are. You
just as
have the
you are.
power. What's a rule that you had to break in order to improve the outcomes for you or for others?
So the one rule that I had to break to change the outcomes for myself or for others is to believe that I could only make a statement that agreed with the most influential person in the room.
Mic drop moment. Yes. Okay. Finish this sentence. Power without permission means
Power without permission means own it, take it. It belongs to you already.
what's a micro ritual you do before going into a rough meeting or a conflict?
Before I go into a really rough meeting or a conflict, I do self-talk. It's what I do every single time because someone has to shut down the noise that goes on in my head. So before every rough meeting that I know is going to be rough, I tell myself, you've got this. There's no one better suited to handle this than you. Bring it.
Okay. Marina, if you don't adapt, you
Die.
tell me a little bit more.
So adaptation has been the story of my life. And what I have recognized is adapting is survival. If you are unwilling to change or to challenge yourself, you will stop growing as a human being. And when you stop growing, what do you have left to offer?
It's a boring life. You're gonna die with regrets.
Yes. And we don't. That's the worst. I will say that's kind of a life saying for me is, am I going to regret this? I ask those questions often.
I want the listeners to really pay attention here how Marina is super self-aware. She takes action, transforms her life, and then iterate the process over and over again. Climb one mountain to see the next, to see the next, to see the next. And it sounds simple. It's the pattern. But you remember what she said today. The key is to just start one small action at a time. Where can the listeners find you, Marina?
The best way to reach me is on LinkedIn under Marina St. Cyr. That's STCYR. Marina St. Cyr.
Awesome. I want to say again, thank you so much for doing this podcast. You dropped gold here. For all the listeners out there, the book Power Without Permission is dropping officially on Amazon on September 25th. And there will be an online launch event. I will be giving away free coaching for 3 months. We're giving away over 100 books. Make sure you go to leadersadapt.com/book, sign up for that event on the 25th. To everyone else out there, please also remember to drop a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Why? Because you're helping another leader, another up-and-coming, amazing, brilliant woman to achieve something, hearing all the gold that Marina dropped here today. And remember, in leadership, we adapt and thrive, or we don't survive. Have an amazing day. Thank you.